Hello everybody, this is Laura with Busy Bee Farms, and today I just wanted to touch base with everyone and just let you kind of know where our garden is. This year we've had several struggles with our garden. In the beginning we had a lot of cold weather and a lot of rain and things like that, and so we were like almost a month getting things in the ground. And then things seemed to kind of take off, and then we kind of got into the middle of the summer and things really just did not take off and grow like they had the past 2 years. And so our garden this year has been okay. It's not been great. We've not had the nice, big, beautiful tomatoes. We've not had buckets and buckets of tomatoes like we did last year. This year, things definitely did not grow as much as they had the year before. And now as we're in September and we're fixing to switch over into our fall season, our garden is about done. I've spoken to a lot of other farmers here in the area, it's just friends at church and things like that, and their gardens have been done for a while, and so I guess it's still good that we're getting tomatoes, but usually I get tomatoes all the way until like the frost. And then I'm harvesting everything at once when I know that there's a frost coming, and that's sometimes not until the first weekend of November. So for us not to have as many, and to say that we're just about at the end of our garden for the summer in September, that's really early for me. But this year, I don't know, things just didn't grow as well. Our tomatoes did not grow as bushy as they've been and put on as many tomatoes as they normally do. My peppers didn't even grow as well as they have. I'm going to take you through and just kind of show you some of the things that show you really kind of where our garden is right now. In the beginning of the summer, our cucumbers did great. I had a lot of pickles and just eating fresh cucumbers. The other thing that did great this year was my first time trying rattlesnake pole beans. I'd never grown those before, and we decided to grow them. They are they climb and get real big, so you definitely have to have a big trellis for them. I thought our trellis, and I'll show you it in just a few minutes, but I thought it was going to be way too tall, but it really wasn't. It was perfect for the way that these beans grow, and they're a great tasting bean. They were so good. We also planted like a jade and a contender bean, and they just did not have, to me, the same taste as the rattlesnake pole beans did. I enjoyed them. I really did. So I will be growing those next year for sure. But yeah, all my peppers, you know, back in the spring, I told you I was moving my bell peppers to a new spot, trying a new variety to see if that made a difference. And I will say that with the new variety, the Emerald Giant, I had more peppers on a plant, but the plants didn't grow that big. We didn't have very many big peppers. We had small ones. Enough for me to chop up and, you know, put in some sauces and things like that. But they didn't grow what I expected them to. So there's a lot of thinking for next year. I'm not sure yet how next year's garden's going to go. I know every year is different, and every year, you know, one year you may have so much more than you can handle, and the next year you may not. And that's just the way that gardening grows, and that's okay. We take what the Lord provides for us, and we use it the best that we can. So I'm going to show you kind of what my garden looks like now. It looks kind of pitiful. I've got some peppers, like I said, that are still okay. My jalapeno peppers, the not hot jalapenos, they're doing great. The plants look good. They're producing like they normally do. Maybe not as many on a bush plant, but definitely still growing and doing really well. The other thing that did super great were the marigolds. I started marigolds from seed back in March, and I just put you know, 3 different plants in my garden, and they have just exploded and become so big, and I will definitely do that again. Just grow them from seed. They're so easy. But here is our garden. Here are our tomatoes. I'm getting ready to harvest some of these tomatoes. You can see that, yes, I have several tomatoes on the vines here, on the plants, but they're not super big, and most of them will either have some kind of damage or they're just little. Every once in a while, like this one up here that hopefully is still good, is kind of a decent sized tomato, and it is. So, you know, that was just, but usually my plants are so full of green leaves and cover this entire cattle panel. Even this time of year, they are not as crunchy and diseased looking like they look right now. And so there again, I think it's been a lot of our weather. We've had a lot more rainy weather, and then just hot weather. And of course, we are here in the South, so there is humid weather, which creates disease. But my plants usually are better than that. So this is the first 2 rows. Those are celebrity tomatoes. And then this row here in the middle are my jalapenos. And they're starting to kind of rebound just a little bit. And I mean, like, I have one, but usually these plants are just loaded. I've had so much in the past to do salsa and then cowboy candy and things like that, and for me not to have that is different. Down here are the serranos. They have been my producers. You can see those 2 plants up there that have just tons of peppers on them. They are the ones that I have used the most in my salsa this year, because it's what I've had the most of. But there's one of my marigold plants, just how big it has gotten. I enjoy growing those flowers. Hey girls! Hey sweet girls! And then down this row, let's see, these 2 rows are Jet Star tomatoes, and I mean, they're okay. I mean, they still have a few tomatoes on them still kind of growing, but those are not very big. And then these are my Jalapeno plants. They still have lots of little blossoms on them. And then just grow. I mean, they have lots of good size, like up here. There's a good sized one, and some over here as well. There's my other marigold plant, just big and bushy. But this row is my Jalapeno row, and they tend to be the best pepper. Jalapeno taste, but not hot, and they have always grown so well. I mean, look at this one right here, and it has all these little bitty blooms on it. And I mean, we still have at least another month and a half of weather, good weather left before usually we get our first frost. So they should still produce quite a bit. And I've used those in my mild salsa, so we have the good taste of the jalapeno. This row, I did a mix of peppers, and they just did not do well at all. This row right here, as you can tell, there's stuff eating here in my garden. Insects, just the pest pressure is just crazy. These were an Ajvarski. They're a type of roasting pepper, and we got a handful of peppers off of these plants. Like this one right here, there's one. We've gotten a few more a little bit bigger than that. But that's about it. We've not gotten enough to really do anything too much with. And then, let's see, we did some ancho chilies, and we did some alma paprikas, and they have not done anything either. They've just sat in the ground, basically. It has just been a crazy time here, and the hornworms are back. As you can see, that one right there. So really just the pest pressure has been crazy. And then these right here are Cubanelles. Not one bloom on them. They have all this growth and leaves, but not one bloom on them all summer long. Kind of crazy. So I did, and I'll tell you that up on my porch, I have two of the original Green Stalk Planters, and I have recently just got another one of the leaf 5-tier Green Stalk Planters, and I'll show you those here in a little while. But I love those, and my peppers did great in that Green Stalk Planter, and they did not do good here, but they did great in that planter. And I am getting those planters about ready to start some of my fall lettuces and things like that. So I will show those to you here soon, but right now I was just bringing you through the garden just to let you know how we are at the end. So that is that pepper row. Now there's two things down here that my little friend that comes, that I babysit, sweet little boy, that I babysit, he has helped me plant a couple of things since it's getting towards the fall. And I believe this is one of them that's come up, and that is a beet plant that has come up there. And then a few over here, we planted seeds, and we actually planted several seeds in each pocket of like 6 different pockets here, holes. And that's about all that came up so far. The other thing that we planted were sugar snap peas, and we have one that has come up right here. This plant is about 2 weeks old. We planted that one, and then we planted this hole right here, and we actually had 2 of those seeds germinate. So we have those right there that have come up, and so that's kind of exciting. I've never grown sugar snap peas before, but they are a cooler weather plant, but you want to get them in the ground before the cold weather actually gets here so they have time to grow and climb and get ready to produce. And then my cucumbers are these next 2 rows, and I've got to go through all these. Pickling cucumbers are just so, most of them are just too big for what I do and with them, and so I just need to clean out the fence rows and get ready for other plants to go in. This row right here was the bell pepper, or is the bell pepper row, and as you can see right here, I mean, we have a few plants that have done okay. And there's, see, it will produce a few on there, but they don't get very big before either they get dark spots on them, or just don't get very big, and then they just go bad. And then something else has been, of course, down here eating up some of the other plants, but I've had a few to survive and produce. And then here is my wall of rattlesnake pole beans. And I mean, they're still green, and they're probably still producing some. We've not been down here to pick them in a while. We made one big, huge harvest, and then it got really, really hot. And we have not been back down to really check on them and pick them if there's really anything left. A lot of them have gotten dried, like those. But see, right here, they're still good. There's still several down here to pick. So I just need to really go through them and pick through them. loved these beans. I would recommend them, absolutely recommend them. They're beautiful to watch grow. This trellis along through here was just beautiful probably 6 weeks ago. It was just full of all the greenery, and it was just beautiful. I loved coming out and just looking at it. And then all the beans, we had more green beans this year off of all these plants than we've had in the past 2 years trying to grow green beans. So I absolutely would recommend these. These have been great. As you see through the fence, my greenhouse is still not complete, but that's okay, that's all in the right timing. It will get done. I'm not in any rush. It will be just fine. We are still doing okay without it. So as soon as we can get it together and do it right, then we will. But yeah, that's kind of what's happened this year with the front garden. I'm not near the back garden to kind of show you that, but it did pretty well. We recently showed you our pumpkins, and they're doing okay. There was a few of the plants that got stems and things broken off of them when we had a big heavy rain, and my really tall okra plants got blown over on top of them and broke some of the stems and things, and so that kind of messed up a few of those plants. But the Casperitas are still growing really well and look very pretty. The green beans are pretty much gone. We've harvested our first batch of corn. We've shown you that video, and then the second batch of corn. Just in the last week, Matthew and I noticed that something, probably some kind of raccoon or squirrels or whatever, rabbits, we don't even know, has gotten into our corn and eaten most of it. They have ravaged through there, broke those ears off the stalks, and have peeled back and eaten that corn. There's still a handful of corn still on the stalk, but not what we expected. So that too was kind of a bummer. We were expecting that, but we've not ever succession sowed our corn. We have been very, very busy. Our business has been doing great, which is wonderful, but it's taken away from a lot of the gardening and stuff that we did last year, because the business demands us more from sun up to sundown, and so there's less time in the day to be out in the garden just working it, and that too could be part of the reason why it wasn't our best season. But there's always fall, and there's always next year, and I have always wanted to try to do a fall garden, and I'm going to try to do some things. I'm not going to be able to do a lot of things. I did start some seeds indoors 6 to 8 weeks ago, so I have some cabbage plants and broccoli and cauliflower that I started inside, and then I have my seeds out where I'm going to try to plant some carrots, some more beets, more just lettuces, some kale. I tried kale last year for the first time, and it was really good. It grew well. It was a very hardy plant, and just very similar to a turnip green, but I really enjoyed it, so I plan to grow some of that. I'm trying to think of what else. Those are just some things that I can think of right off the top of my head, that I'm going to try to grow, and some of it will be in this garden here. After I kind of clean this out, that's my next plan for here, since most of these tomatoes plants are just about done. I'm going to start going through and getting some of them and just kind of ripping out the garden. Definitely all the cucumbers, and then all the pepper plants that don't really have anything on them. Then I will be ripping those out as well, and seeing what I can do to replace that. yeah, that's kind of where we are right now with the gardening stuff. Today I picked up some soil for my green stalks. If you've never heard of the Green Stalk Planters, it is a company based out of Knoxville. It is a company that is family-based company. They just designed these planters and then started this business years ago. And I had seen them just on fellow YouTube channels and wanted to try them. And since we're in Tennessee, definitely wanting to buy from a local Tennessee company. And they are wonderful. They're quick. They have sales routinely, and I enjoy the planters. They're just wonderful. They're a good way to have a good way to grow food, flowers, herbs, whatever you may want on your porch. So they're definitely good space savers, and a great way to grow food. So I'm going to show you those. The first one I have taken apart now and kind of redid the soil a little bit, getting ready for the fall. So okay, so when I say green stalk planter, this is what I mean. It is like a stalk. This is the 7-tier original green stalk planter. I got this for Mother's Day. I actually got 2 of them. This one is put together, and the other one you can see separated here on my porch, because this week I have taken it apart and have added just some more soil to it where I had taken stuff out of it. In this one, what is still growing is my oregano. It grew really, really well. I had a lot of herbs in this one that was taken apart. It had oregano, it had basil. This right here is lavender, which I have never, I mean, that's about as far as I have seen my lavender grow. It will not grow any further than that. And I don't know if that's just, it's one of those that takes seasons and seasons to grow and establish and get bigger. I don't know. I've never grown it before. And then this one over here, this is bee balm. I wanted to try to grow that, and that's about as best as it got. So I don't know that either. And the chamomile, that over there is chamomile. So that's as much as it has grown as well. Those may be herbs that just have to become established and then they get bigger. I'm not sure. I've never grown them before, so that was just kind of a learning experiment there. These are calendula flowers. I've not pulled it out yet just because it still has these new little buds on it. They're pretty little green yellow flowers, and so I just kind of kept those there. And then over here on these planters right here, we have sage, and then I believe, this is my thyme, and then my rosemary. This was rosemary, and it just has kind of started dying. So I'm not sure about herbs, growing them. This is my first year to try to do that, so that's what happened. The only success was the oregano. Oh, and the basil. The basil grew a lot. But here in this planter up top, they need water because it's the end of the day and they get kind of wilty because they need some water in here. I've not watered them today. But this is the Cubanelle plant. These are my jalapenos. I just picked most of the jalapenos, but there's one there. This over here is my ancho chili plant. And then there's one, this is the paprika plant. And this one here that grew, that's been in the green stalk, has, I mean, given several of the paprika peppers. It just, and here's another little one and another one right there. I mean, just really has taken off and grown. This was a bell pepper, hasn't done a thing. But the peppers seem to establish and do good in the green stalk. Now these down here are tomato plants. This plant right here was the only one that had tomatoes on it. And I don't know if it was just the soil or where I had it here. The year, again, it could just be the year, but they just didn't really do anything. I mean, like right here we have some buds, blooms, but you know, as late in the season that it is, it probably won't produce anything else. We have one green bean plant that's still kind of doing a little bit. There's a green bean, and there's a couple of green beans in there. It didn't ever really give a whole lot of green beans, but it did. Sun Company. So anyway, we have one green bean plant that bloomed and has produced. I had a couple of others in here, but they I pulled them out when I think where it is, it's getting a lot of sun, and I wasn't watering it enough. But I mean, I have enjoyed having the peppers be up here and grow. I've grown more peppers off of my green stalk than I have in my garden, my in-ground garden. So I definitely love the green stalks. And then this one is the leaf. It has a smaller, not smaller, but not as deep pocket. And so it's more for herbs or lettuces and things like that. So I'm going to be filling that up with soil and starting some lettuce seeds in that pretty soon. In the next few days is what I plan to do there. And then in this one, I'm going to be probably taking out my tomato plants. I will probably leave my pepper plants for now, but taking out some of these tomato plants because they're just not going to produce anything. And then as far as the one that is apart, I'm going to be putting it back together and putting seeds in it, like carrots, beets, things like that, because you can plant several of those in each pocket, and then they will grow. And then these planters, you know, that are right here on my porch, if there's a night that it could get frosty or frost or anything like that, then I can cover them up with a sheet. Green stalk definitely makes a cover you can put over them, and I've thought about maybe getting some of those. But if you haven't checked out Green Stalk, you should go to their website and just look at their product. I loved reading their story and hearing about their family-based company, and that they're here local. And so I definitely enjoy purchasing items from those that are local and supporting them, and it's a good product. The system, like I said, I have taken it apart, but the system is kind of a self-watering system. So here's the bottom, here's the base, and on the bottom it actually has where the water will run out. And then you see the hole right here in the middle. It'll have this little disc that you put right here on top, and then you'll stack the other container on top, and it'll fit in these little grooves, you know, kind of offset just a little bit. And then you keep adding another disc, and then another planter, and then a disc and a planter, and then on the very top you'll add the water reservoir, and you will fill it up, and the water will run through the hole, and it will go down to each of these little discs. And in the little disc, it's kind of hard for you to tell, but there's these little holes. You can kind of see right here, there's these little holes, and it will just drip the water from level to level to level, and that's how it will water. It will, in the disc, hold the water and then drip down into your soil. So kind of like a drip, almost kind of like a drip water system. And it does that through each level, and you just fill it from the top. And so that, I love that, because I can come out instead of necessarily having to water each and every pocket. Now, I have done something like that when I've seen one pocket needs more water than the other. I have done that individually, and when I start seeds. So when I start seeds, I definitely want to do like more of a misty spray over my seeds, and so that they will germinate. And I don't rely on just the watering system for that. But otherwise, just watering from the top with that. You can tell with this one over here put together that here's the water reservoir, and then there's the disc, and then they just clip on like that. And so I can just fill it up to here, wherever line that I need to for whichever green stalk I have, and then the water just goes through the hole, and then it just drips and waters the rest of my plants, which is really, really nice. And so I have just enjoyed them, and for them to be right out my front door, that's even more enjoyable. When there's days that I can't go all the way to the garden, I can still come out to my front porch, or if I'm just walking to my car. I don't know how many days I think probably every day when I walk out to my car, I come out my front door, and there's my green stalks, and I can just see the plants growing, and the beauty of the flowers and the food and all of that growing. So I enjoy them very much. So I think that's about all we have going on right now. Like I said, we have been really, really busy with our business, which is a great thing. The Lord has definitely blessed us with work and providing for us to grow our business in its very first year. So I'm very excited about that, and so thankful. And if it takes away from my garden for this year, that it's just the way it needs to be at this point. But there's always next year, Lord willing, and we will try again, of course. And there's the fall, and we will try growing what we can grow there, and I'll give you updates on my green stalks and how the cool weather plants are growing and things like that. And but that's it. That's kind of what's happening around here and with our gardens. So thank you for sticking with us. I know that we don't put out near as many videos as we want to, but we do appreciate you guys sticking around and watching our videos when we are able to produce them. So thank you so much to each and every one of you that have subscribed to our channel and follow us. And if you haven't subscribed and this is your first time seeing our videos, if you'll stick around, subscribe, and watch our channel, we would love to share our journey with you and the things that we learn each and every day on our farm here. So thank you so much, everyone. Take care, and God bless.